Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the next episode of This Is Life. It's your boy, your host, Brandon Harrison, and this is a faith-based encouragement podcast to help you navigate through life. And we are in the middle of a series called Black Perspective, where I have the honor and the privilege of sitting down with some amazing Black people that I know and just hear their perspectives on things. And it's people all different walks of life, in politics, education, or entertainment, sports, all these different things, and is hearing a Black perspective, because sometimes in all the rhetoric of today, we don't hear everybody's different perspective. We just hear one side or the other if we have to choose sides. So the goal of this is to really educate, to inform, and to really inspire, because everyone I've done so far has just been incredible hearing people's stories. And today I have the honor and the privilege of sharing the story of the conversation with Frank Buncom IV. He's incredible young man. I'm just excited for you to hear his story of his journey, all that he's already accomplished at such a young age. So Frank, without me explaining too much, tell the people what you're about, how you got to where you are, and just some of your highlights of your journey so far.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, and thank you for inviting me to come speak with you about this. It's always nice to be able to have a platform to be able to share some of my perspectives and to share my heart. So, first off, thank you for that.
No
Like
problem.
you mentioned, yeah, like you mentioned, my name is Frank Buncombe the fourth. Um, I come from a line of pretty cool human beings named Frank James Buncombe. Um,
Nice.
and so I definitely wear that on my sleeve, and it's something that my name means a lot to me. Although it's a little bit basic compared to my siblings' names, their names are all much cooler than just Frank. But it's definitely something that I put a lot of value towards with my life. I am definitely on the I'd probably say on the younger side of some of the other people that you've been talking to. I am just 23
Hmm.
years old, and I recently graduated from Stanford University last year. I'm a little bit over a year of graduation. And I've had,
Congratulations.
thank you, I appreciate it. Um, it's definitely been a journey from my time growing up in San Diego, um, going to the high school that I attended, St. Augustine High School, and then deciding to go to Stanford after that to continue playing football. We might dive into this a little bit later on, but my football journey got cut a little bit shorter than I would have liked. Um, for better or for worse, although it's looking like it's actually been for better, as my body definitely feels a lot better
Nice.
now that I don't run into people anymore.
Right.
Um, my body's definitely felt a lot better and appreciates it. Um, but I definitely had NFL aspirations ever since I was a kid. I kind of had things mapped out to go to NFL and take medical school classes while like during the NFL off season and play in the NFL for a few years and then retire, finish
Wow.
medical school, and become a neurosurgeon. I always wanted to become a neurosurgeon when I was a kid,
Wow.
and um, that's still something that's simmering in the back of my mind. The NFL thing, I've pushed that to the side. And not to the side. That makes it seem like it's still there. It's behind. It's gone.
Oh,
Um, but the neurosurgeon thing is something that I'm still thinking about. It's a little bit on the back burner now, but I'm still thinking about the MD route or potentially getting a PhD in something like bioengineering.
wow.
It's something I'm thinking about. Or also, since I graduated, I've been working at a small health tech startup for a little bit over a year now. I think I started like 3 days after graduation. Um,
Wow.
and when I joined the company, it was about 5 months old. So now we're about a year and a half old. And when I joined, it was the two co-founders and myself. So I was like the first employee, the first
Hmm.
hire. Um, and we've grown the team a little bit now. And it's really been interesting to have these perspectives of being in such a small company. It's such a
Gotcha.
dogfight every day,
Hmm.
being scrappy and kind of getting things done with so limited resources. Um, so it's been a lot of fun, and that's like my third avenue is like, do I just stay in industry and the healthcare side? I definitely have a passion for healthcare, but man, I've been getting into politics lately, or at
Nice.
least kind of grappling with the current climate that we're in,
Hmm.
and more so educating myself. Um, I like to lead. I like to be able to speak on different topics. Um,
Nice.
in order to do so confidently, you got to be educated to know what the heck you're talking about.
That's the truth.
Um,
Yep.
or at least you should be. Not everybody does, but at
No.
least you should know what you're talking about. Yeah, so I've been taking a lot of time recently to educate myself. So yeah, that's probably like the quick run
Nice.
through my past 23 years. Um, Filled with highs and lows, but I've definitely been incredibly blessed. One of those blessings being knowing individuals like yourself, Brandon.
Thank you, Frank. That means a lot. That really does. But you've inspired me, even though you're a little younger than me. I'm like, it's just incredible to see your journey. And like you said, the leadership that you take, the impact that you have, and the influence that you have as well. It's incredible to see that. And that's something that I wanted to have you hone in on too, and just share what are some of or what is that one thing that has been like a peak for you, whether it was in football or just in academics? What was that kind of one accomplishment that you really enjoyed the most, or other ones? But what did you learn from that experience? And then what were some of the lows or one of the lowest moments in your journey? And what did you learn from that experience?
Absolutely. I think I'll start with the lowest moment because that
Mm-hmm.
one is a little bit more crystallized to me. I think I'm still trying to find that high moment for myself, still climbing,
Nice. Mm-hmm.
very much trying to ascend. Um, but I think my lowest moment, thankfully, life is full of valleys and mountains,
Yep.
and I've been incredibly fortunate in that my valleys, my lows haven't been incredibly low.
Right.
I've been fortunate that way. I've been surrounded by awesome people in my family that have
Yeah.
educated me on different things from a very young age. So I speak to everybody here today from a very privileged position. Even being a Black man in America, I
Mm-hmm.
consider myself a privileged Black man in America, and I want to just make sure that it's noted. Um,
Mm.
but one of my lows definitely was um, my senior year playing football at Stanford. I've been a starter on the team for the past 3 years, and I redshirted my freshman year. So I technically still had another year eligibility to come back to Stanford for a fifth year if I chose so. Or I also had the option to declare for the NFL draft at that point, um, which looked like a fun idea, especially because one of my best friends at Stanford, he actually left after 3 years. After junior year, he declared for the draft, and he currently starts at safety for the Houston Texans, Justin Reed. Um, and I was like, man, seeing him ball out his rookie season, I was like,
Yeah.
and I was like, that was my boy. I just played next to him. We both started at safety, and he was my running mate that played right next to me the year prior. I was
Wow.
like, man, I wanted to get there to be, even if I didn't go to the Texans. Of course, the chance of that is small, but just to be up there with some of my really good friends that I played with at Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
and or also could have stayed for another fifth year to give myself opportunity to be a better draft selection. But towards the end of the football season, I started to feel some pains in my spine, um, some things that like it kind of came on one evening after a football game. I think we were played against Washington State, and I was at dinner with my parents, and a few of my teammates actually came with us to dinner as well. And out of nowhere, I just got this shooting pain in my spine,
Wow.
and like some tears started to flow. I was lying down on the ground in the restaurant, and then the pain kind of subsided after about 5 minutes.
Whoa.
I was like, that's really weird. And then I didn't really think much of it. Like a week or two later, I was brushing my teeth. We had a morning meeting. It's like 7 a.m. meeting in the morning to go over like special teams
Mm-hmm.
film. And I was brushing my teeth when I woke up in the morning, and then boom, it hit me again. I was like on the ground
Dang.
crying. I was brushing my teeth in the morning, and then it kind of subsided after about 5 or 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, and at that point, that's when I really went to the trainers, like, what is going on? Um, Started to do a workup, started to get some treatment for it, but I kept playing throughout the year. I kept playing my one, like, yes, my teammates depended on me, and I had that call to play for my teammates too. I wanted to play. Like
Right. Right.
playing, I like this game. This game is a lot of fun. It's brought me joy. I've been playing since I was 6 years old, and I just turned 22, recently 22 at that point, or actually 21, turning 22. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this game has been a part of my life for so long, as long as I can remember. I love to play the game.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to play. So I continued to play, and things got a little bit worse throughout the season, but not so bad that I had to stop playing. And we played our bowl game that year. We played in the Sun Bowl and won I think like 1918 or something like that. We beat Pitt
Mm.
that year in the Sun Bowl, and came back after the bowl game, and got an MRI after the season, and things didn't look too great in my spine. And we've kind of with the doctors, kind of came down to the decision that either we'd have to. There's a good chance that if I kept playing, I'd probably have to have surgery on my spine.
Mm.
Um, and some thoughts really crystallized in that moment. I already had surgery at Stanford on my hand my freshman year. The year prior,
Mhm.
I had surgery on my left knee to get some things repaired around my PCL. Like,
Wow.
do I want to have another surgery on my spine? That's
Right.
not something that I want to play with. If I do have kids someday, I want to be able to pick them up.
Right.
Um, or am I fortunate enough to have grandkids? I want to be able to pick them up.
Right.
Like spine is really not something to play around with. Um, so at that moment, things kind of crystallized for me. I decided to hang up the cleats, which is
Mm.
painful. Um, I think I cried myself to sleep for like the next 2 weeks or so.
Mhm.
Um, it didn't help that my girlfriend went off to play professional soccer in Paris. Um,
Oh,
so after we were together for several years in Stanford, um, she had just after that fall she just went to start her professional career in Paris, playing for Paris Saint-Germain, but she still plays there now. And
wow.
actually just went back to Paris a day or two ago, since being back here for like COVID-19 shutting
Yeah.
things down, and she played in the NWSL tournament as well.
Jeez.
So that's like that probably compounded a little bit as well.
I bet.
But I wasn't crying about her going. I wanted her to go. You know,
Yeah.
she's going to expand her career, and doing what's best for her. So I was all for that. But definitely like for the next 2 weeks, I felt that hole, like something was missing within me.
Mhm.
And I'd always describe myself as, I would say, like, I'm not a football player. I'm a man. I just happen to play football.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it's like it's one of the things I do, but it's not who I am.
Yep.
Um, and that thing that I said that came out of my mouth was really put to the test at that point,
I bet.
because that football I got taken away from me, whether we said taken away from me or I walked away because I didn't want to potentially have surgery on my spine. Um, that really got tested at that moment.
Right.
Um, so that was definitely a low for me, and I learned a lot about myself at that time.
Mhm.
Thankfully, I was able to find another community at Stanford, that I kind of connected with on the entrepreneurial side, which actually helped me land the job that I'm working at now.
Nice.
So things worked out in like an incredibly opportune fashion. I actually met kind of some of my best friends through this program as well. Um,
Nice.
so it was something I really needed as I lost like this football community, even though I still like hung out with my teammates, my old teammates, and like still love them. It's
Mhm.
different because they're waking up in the morning going on those 7 a.m. lifts.
Right.
For better for me, I'm not waking up
Right.
at 7 a.m. for those anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. But man, like you're not you're not having those dog days with them
Yeah.
anymore. So it's a little bit different dynamic.
Mhm.
So I kind of lost that football community, but found this other one. And that was definitely enriching for me. And I guess on the flip side, kind of like on the mountaintop, um, that's a little bit tougher question for me to answer because I do think
Okay.
I am still ascending or trying to ascend,
Mhm.
and trying to accomplish different things. But I guess one thing that kind of comes to my mind was just happened about a month or two ago, um, when I attended some protests out in Point Loma while I've been back here in San Diego for the past few months. Um,
Nice.
I attended a protest out in Point Loma, and the organizer asked me to speak at the protest. And there was I don't know, a few hundred people there. I don't think it was 1,000.
Mhm.
There's definitely a few hundred people there, and um, having the ability to lend my voice to what we're trying to accomplish, to
Mhm.
lend my heart, my emotion, and my passion to that, um, and hopefully to touch a heart that day was definitely awe-inspiring to me. It's definitely
Wow.
fulfilling. Something that I appreciated. I didn't think that to go out there and ask to say something, etc. But being,
Mhm.
but being that they came to me to do that. At one, I felt the responsibility to, and it was awesome, really fulfilling. And after the speech, and kind of as we were starting to disperse after um, our peaceful protest, a few people kind of came up to me with some words of encouragement and like asked
Nice.
me like, "You think you're gonna run for mayor of San Diego someday?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Nice.
Like I've always been so passionate. My two main passions have been one, medicine and healthcare. Football is probably definitely up there, but
Hmm.
put that one to the side. So my two main passions have been medicine and healthcare, where that's been my number one. I've devoted my schooling there. I studied human
Hmm.
biology and was a pre-med student and thinking about going to medical school. So that's where I've devoted much of my energy towards. And my second passion has been climate and what we can do
Mm.
to build a more sustainable society. Um, and
Wow.
I haven't put much of my schooling hasn't been there, but a lot of thought and like outside research and my time has been put there. And those have been my two things. So I hadn't really thought about politics. And although you can like affect both of those things a lot
You
with
can.
politics,
Hmm.
absolutely. So I've been actually immediately like texted one of my good friends at Stanford who actually went to Cathedral in San Diego, and we
Oh,
went
wow.
to Stanford the same year together, Casey Toohill, and he
Hmm.
majored in political science there. And shout out to Casey, just got he got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think he just reported to camp with the Eagles. Um,
Nice.
but he majored in political science at Stanford. So I texted Casey. I was like, "Hey man, what are some good books? Like I want to get more into political theory and just educate myself on it. So like, what are some good books you recommend?" And he sent me some books, and so I've been diving into those. Some of them have been some dense reads, let me tell you.
I bet.
They've been some dense reads, but they've definitely been incredibly informative. So I'm trying to better educate myself because I thought like I don't really plan on running for mayor down the road, but
Hey.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
If things line up correctly and that seems like something that I want to do, um, I probably should start getting myself versed in political science, political theory right now,
Hmm.
just so I can have a foundation. So that's one of the many things I'm working on right now.
Man, that's so awesome to hear how all that journey has a purpose and all comes together for you. That's incredible. But that's something that you learn like in your 20s and 30s, like, just really that journey on the different moments of like, I might be called to do this, or I might have a passion in this. And it's good to hear you say that you're self-aware enough to acknowledge like I'm still ascending, I'm still learning, still growing. And it's so awesome just to see that you know your passions, but you're flexible to say, I might be effective in politics, or I might be effective in medicine or football, whatever it is. But it's awesome to see just the maturation process and just the journey. But I did want to ask one question of what you said. And it's something that I'm still learning. Like you said, this season, I've been a Black man my whole 32 years of life, but this season I've been learning a lot, a whole lot
Absolutely.
about Black history, about current Black topics. And I'm just like, I have a lot more to learn. So from somebody who is in their early 20s, how have you been navigating through this season of all the racial tensions, and what have you been learning about Black people, Black causes, and kind of how are you making sense of all of this? It's a lot going on,
Yeah.
but I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot going on into that sense. I found that it can be incredibly emotionally draining.
Hmm.
Definitely after some of the protests I attended, I had to come back and be exhausted, and that's definitely the most like holistically exhausted I've been, like physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, just
Yeah.
drained. Um, and even after I haven't attended a protest in a little while, but doing some things that communicating with individuals, working with a few groups at Stanford to try to affect some change within that institution. Um, is
Nice.
that it? And it's so emotionally draining, and
Yes,
it
it
can be
is.
hard to think about how we take care of ourselves during these times. Um, so that's what I've been trying to been putting a lot of thought into that. And then what I didn't realize initially, like when this whole climate was starting to kick off, is how introspective it would need to be in order to take care of myself. Like a
Yes.
lot of my time I initially was spending like talking to other people, engaging other people, being out there, um, sharing my heart, etc. And I didn't really think about the importance of time that I would need to put into like being introspective, getting away from everything to one, take care of myself mentally and emotionally, and to two, all this information. that I'm taking in to process and give it some time to process.
That's good.
So that's been incredibly important for me lately, to just crack open my journal and sit down and just thoughts that pop into my mind, just let them flow. And one of the things that I did about a week or 2 weeks ago, is I did a what I call a tech detox, or I know it's common. Some people take them. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily that new. Um, but I took a tech detox in which for the weekend I turned off my phone, my laptop, my iPad. I just turned it all off. So I didn't have any texts coming in. Didn't have an urge to like check my Apple Watch, see what popped
Right.
up, etc. And I just put everything away. And then what I didn't realize what that allowed me to do was when like an idea would pop up into my mind, or like a random thought, um, or like something random, let's say like something about astrology pops up into my mind. What I would generally do when I'm like connected, like we all are, is I might like open up a tab really quickly and like dive into that topic right away. And that
Right.
would lead me, and then I would think about that and like be thinking about that a little bit, and then I kind of process it and let it go. Um, but what like the tech detox allowed me to do, outside of, like taking care of myself mentally, was I'd have my journal here with me and my pen and paper. And then like when one of those thoughts would come up, I couldn't look it up immediately.
Mm,
So what I do is write it down. I write it down and I kind of move on. And what I noticed was like, boom, another idea would come up like, oh, that's really interesting. And I'd write it down, and then I kind of get away from it. Instead of like diving into it immediately, I
that's
just write it
awesome.
down and get away from it. And then when I noticed like, wow, like actually generated like way more ideas that were really productive. And then like
Wow.
once Monday rolled around and I turned everything back on, I had like this super full list in my journal of like things that I wanted to dive into, that I hadn't really accumulated that when I was just like get something pop up into my head and I dive into it. I might be missing like the two or three things that are like simmering right there and ready to come up.
Yeah.
So that's something that I did a week or two ago that I really liked personally, and helped me just get away from everything and just process all, because we're constantly getting information coming in,
Yep.
whether news articles, tweets, Instagram,
Yep.
etc. We're always getting so much information coming in, and it's hard to find time to process
Man, that is such good advice and so well said. That's so important, especially like you said for the season, just of really guarding our mental and our physical health as well, not just sitting
Yeah.
around too much. It ties into everything. That full detox. That's really good, and that's really well said, because it's so important to, like you said, not inundate ourselves too much with information and opinions and news
Yeah.
articles, but say, what do I really think about this, and
Yeah.
get that
It
time to
can get
process.
overbearing at times. It's important to do that work, but it can get overbearing if you're just on it all the time.
Yep.
You know?
I completely agree. And that's what I found during this season. 'Cause like you said, at first I was speaking at this and helping this person get perspective and share this. And then I was like, man, I need to figure out myself for a couple days
Yeah.
and calm down. Cause it's like, it's emotionally draining, all these
Yeah.
different conversations have, and say, okay, I can't change everybody's perspective on Black
Yeah.
issues or educate everybody. Cause like you said, I still gotta learn myself and gotta
Right.
learn about the topics to really speak intelligently on it. So it's a balance, a delicate balance of
Absolutely.
activism and learning, and then speaking and still learning. And
Hmm.
but it's a good journey though. It's really good to hear, man. So
Absolutely.
any any last closing comments just as encouragement of people listening, of young Black athletes or just young Black students or just people in general, one inspiration to, like you said, I know you're still ascending, but how can somebody get to where you're at, and how could you encourage them in that journey?
Um, to people, specifically to people that are younger than me and are on that journey or around my age,
Hmm.
to continue to reach out to individuals that are at where you want to be.
That's good.
I think we oftentimes get shy in that sense. I
Yeah.
like to reach out to somebody there. Like I I think I got over this pretty quickly. Like one time, like I was like, man, I wonder what Serena Williams is working on. And then like I tried to like direct message Serena Williams on Instagram to see like what she's working on. Did I get a
Yeah.
response? No, I didn't get a response.
Hey.
But hey, but I reached out, and I've done that with like some other people that like are at where I want to be.
Me
whether
too.
it regards to like companies or things that I want to connect with, and have gotten like a lot of people that reach back out to me and it's made like a lot of connections that way. So yeah, Serena didn't reply to me, but hey, maybe
That's
next
okay.
time,
Yep.
maybe I'll hit up Venus. Maybe Venus will
Yeah.
respond. Yeah. So um, I think we should take the times when we see individuals that are at where we want to be, especially those that look like us,
Mhm.
to reach out, because oftentimes the people that are there want to pull other people up with them,
That's
and
good. Yeah.
to pull up other boats. So extend extend your arms, like kind of. I think I don't know if one of my aunts maybe used to say something like this, or somewhere within my family. Um, like when you're driving, yeah, you can pray that God gets you there safely, but you don't just let go of the steering wheel. So
That's good.
you don't just let go of the steering wheel. So
Right.
you can hope that these people that are, um, depending on how you define success, if you define success as financial success, these people that are more financially successful, we can want them to like reach down and help pull other people up, but
Mm,
I can also reach my hand up there,
that's right.
and get a little bit closer. So I definitely, say to reach out to individuals, try to reach for those connections.
That's so good. Really good advice. And that's how I got started on this podcast journey of interviewing
Mhm.
people. Like you said, I was just head up Steph Curry and hit up a bunch of different
Yep.
people. I was like, didn't get a response, but I got some pretty good response from other people. I'm like, oh yeah, they actually
Yeah.
replied to my DM. I'm like, all right. And different
Exactly.
pastors, some politicians, other people. I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, they actually replied. But like you said, I had to get over that initial fear of like, oh man, they might not respond or I might not get
Mhm.
it. But it's like, hey, gotta reach out and try. And there are people who are
Exactly.
really trying to, like you said, help us get on up to where they're at. So it's
Exactly.
getting over that initial fear. That's really good. So last question. How can people, hey, if you want to drop your Cash App, how can they financially support you? What other projects are you doing right now that people can follow you? What's your Instagram? Anyways, people can keep in touch with you and see what you're really working on, how they can support you.
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram, Twitter, and that stuff is all, the handle that I got when I was probably like 11 years old that my oldest sister created for me, is Beast Named Frank.
Nice.
Yeah, Beast Named Frank. But you can also find me on LinkedIn. Is a great place to connect with me. Just Frank Buncom IV, on LinkedIn. As far as I can tell, there's only been four Frank James Buncom's in the U.S. history, as far as
Nice.
I can tell. So if you search that name, you'll for sure find me, because I don't think my dad has a LinkedIn. So you'll definitely find me. So that's the way that you can connect with me. There's some, like, the company I'm working for is AirX Health, and
Okay.
we're in the remote monitoring space, trying to connect physicians to their patients while at home. Um, so if you had any connections in that realm,
Nice.
and also might be working with some of my friends to cook up a side project, to start fulfilling that second passion in regards to climate and recycling.
Yes.
We're still like in the very much in the idea phase, and this is just a side project because I do have my full-time job.
Right.
But if there are anybody wanted to connect on those things, or really just talk, I'm always open to connecting with people, talking, getting to know and meet new people, because we're only here on this earth for a short amount of time, and
Yep.
so you might as well enjoy as many people as you can.
I love that. That is so true, man. Such a good closing word. Well, I appreciate your time, your inspiration. You definitely inspired me. I know everybody who listens definitely gonna get some encouragement and inspiration. So thank you, man.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you having me.
No problem at all. Well, I just let me stop.